Welcome to our daily Bible devotions. We are now on day 2 of exploring worldviews. And today we're going to learn about contrasting worldviews. Why do we need to contrast worldviews? Remember when in school, your teachers will give you this test about comparisons and contrast. Sometimes you will be asked to make an essay about two things, and then you're supposed to compare and contrast those two things. Do you understand why that's being asked of you? It's because of this. Contrast is the mother of clarity. What does that mean? It means that when you contrast two things, it becomes clearer the distinction between those two things. If the characteristics of one thing is not very clear to you, when you contrast it with another, it becomes clearer. For example, you have two cakes in front of you. You don't know which one tastes better, or sometimes you're just used to eating this cake. Let's call it cake A. It's your favorite, you really like it, and you've never entertained the thought that something else, another cake, will be better than it. But if you start eating another one and comparing it with cake A, let's say you realize that cake B actually tastes better if you accompany it with a specific drink, say, for example, a coffee. Now, those distinctions, you will never know them unless you contrast those two things. Hence, contrast is the matter of clarity. It's important for us to contrast one worldview with another to make it clearer the distinction between the two. And why do you need to do that? Because you have to. For example, uh, hundreds of years ago, they believed that the earth was flat. And when the proposition that the earth is spherical was introduced, they kind of laughed at it. And initially, the scholars did not entertain the thought that maybe the earth really was spherical. Of course, we think the navigators, one of them was Ferdinand Magellan, who explored and tried to prove that the earth was indeed and is indeed spherical. But at first, when people did not entertain that fact, of course, they just laughed at the idea. But if you don't entertain them, you don't contrast them with your worldview, you'll never know the truth. You'll never know which one is better, which one is more correct or more proper. You will imagine if no one ventured into proving that, then up until this time we would still believe that the earth is flat. And how ridiculous that would be. But because someone else ventured to give evidence to the contrary, and then they presented it to the existing evidence that the earth is flat, then people were able to examine them, put them side by side, and realize, okay, actually, this makes more sense that the earth is indeed spherical because this evidence was achieved. See, that's an important result of contrast. If you don't compare, if you don't contrast, then you'll never know which one is better. We'll never know which one is more correct or more proper. That gives us the very, very important lesson here. You need to compare. Yes, we don't want to compare people, but we have already established from the first week people are equal, ideas are not. So therefore, you don't compare people, but you compare ideas. You contrast them with one another. We have to. And there are many people who are so afraid of doing this. Once they believe that what they hold on to is the correct view, is the correct perspective, they don't entertain another idea anymore. They're so afraid. This is true not only for religious people, but this is true even for people of political ideology, people of science. They don't entertain another idea. They think, no, that can't be true. That can't be possible. Therefore, I will not entertain that. I will not read that. I will just stick to this because that's just a bunch of, not good things. I will not do that. And I grew up with people who tells me, no, don't read that. No, don't entertain that. No, you just stick with what you know already because that's what you need. But what we really need is to study and explore other worldview because if we will not do that, we will forever be confined to what we know. Do you know the story of the frog in the well? The frog in the well thought that the inside of the well is already the whole world. But unless we go out there and explore other worldview, we will never really know what the world is. We will forever be confined to our own perspective, thinking it's the best when in fact we haven't even contrasted it with others. And what do we need for us to compare and to contrast our worldview with another? We will discuss that tomorrow.